Joining us for more on this is climate researcher Adrian Macy from Victoria University. Adrian, some are questioning why our Prime Minister is not attending. What do you think of that decision?
Well, it's not going to be a very momentous COP, this one. There are no major deadlines or issues to conclude this time. So I think probably on balance, there's a lot more important things to do on climate right here at home at the moment. One good example is that we've got this consultation on at the moment, right during the COP, about what we do with our agriculture emissions. So I think on balance, it's probably a sensible decision to stay home for this one.
And here in New Zealand, we've committed to halving emissions by 2030. We're not on track for that at the moment, are we? What's the most important thing we could do now to keep that promise?
Well, I think the simplest thing we can do, and the most important one at the same time, is do the energy transition. And what that means is shift as fast as we can from fossil fuels to renewables. And some of the sectors where that's important, a big one is transport. We've not done well on transport. We're very, very dependent on fossil fuels. They haven't gone very fast on electrification. Public transport leaves a lot to be desired. So that's one. Another one is our various industries that are still using oil or gas for heat, or in Fonterra's case, coal, shifting them, getting them to shift from fossils to renewables. So those are the most important things and the most urgent things that New Zealand should be doing, and they're all at home.
And a cornerstone of COP has been that we need to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees. Should we give up on that? Is that going to happen?
I'm not sure that we will give up on it. We're talking about the international climate change community, but I think very few people involved in the science side of this who are not in that climate bubble would still say that 1.5 degrees is attainable. I mean, even the Egyptian president, before the conference, he was saying something like, well, let's just stop making all these grand promises about targets and get on and do stuff. So I think, to my sense, it's no longer a realistic goal, and the focus really needs to be not so much temperature targets, but those transitions, as I mentioned, as fast as you can, transit from fossil fuels to renewables. Doing that as fast as you can, not quite so preoccupied with targets, which you may not meet anyway. I reckon that's 80+% of it, actually.
Now, in a past life, you were a climate negotiator for New Zealand. What's the best outcome we can hope for at COP27, do you think?
Well, I'm not particularly ambitious for this one. I would say the best outcome we can hope for is a COP that doesn't end in a lot of north-south acrimony between developed and developing countries. And secondly, I hope that it's not the longest COP in history. The longest one in history was not so long ago in Madrid, and that went 2 days over time and didn't really achieve anything. So those two things, negatives, provided it ends on a reasonably forward-looking note. Next year is a big year. It's our global stock take, and that's the year where we're really looking at the COP of just how far the world is progressing or not towards those temperature goals. So, yeah, I think more or less a working COP without too much acrimony at the end, and which doesn't send anything backwards, probably is the best we can hope for.
We'll keep a watch. Adrian Macy, thanks for explaining.
Thank you.